in which our protagonists, Anna and Levine, finally meet, and in which one of their tales comes to an end. Chapter 6. Perhaps they're not receiving, said Levine, entering the front hall of Countess Bohl's house. They are. Please come in, said the porter, resolutely helping him out of his coat. How annoying, thought Levine, sighing as he removed a glove and shaped his hat. Well, why am I going, and what shall I talk about with them? Passing through the first drawing-room, Levine met Countess Bohl in the doorway. With a preoccupied and stern face, she was ordering a servant to do something. Seeing Levine, she smiled and invited him into the next small drawing-room, from which voices came. In this drawing-room, in armchairs, sat the Countess' two daughters and a Moscow colonel of Levine's acquaintance. Levine went up to them, and after the greeting, sat down by the sofa, holding his hat on his knee. How was your wife's health? Were you at the concert? We couldn't go. Mamma had to be at a paniquita. Yes, I heard. Such a sudden death, said Levine. The Countess came in, sat on the sofa, and also asked about his wife at the concert. Levine answered her and repeated the remark about the suddenness of Mademoiselle Apraksin's death. And though she always had weak health. Did you go to the opera yesterday? Yes, I did. Luca was very good. Yes, very good, he said. And as he was totally indifferent to what they thought of him, he began to repeat what he had heard hundreds of times about the singer's special talent. Countess Bohl pretended to listen. Then, when he had talked enough and fell silent, the colonel sidled up to them and began to speak. The colonel also talked about the opera and the lighting. Finally, having mentioned the planned full journée at Urn's, the colonel started laughing, got up noisily, and left. Levine also got up, but noticed from the Countess' face that it was too early for him to leave. Another couple of minutes were called for. He sat down. But as he kept thinking how stupid it was, he could find nothing to talk about, and remained silent. You're not going to the public meeting? They say it's very interesting, the Countess began. No, I promised my belle-soeur I'd come and fetch her, said Levine. Silence ensued. Mother and daughter exchanged glances once more. Well, I suppose now is the time, thought Levine, and he got up. The lady shook hands with him and asked him to convey mille choses to his wife. As he held his coat for him, the porter asked, Where are you staying, if you please? And wrote it down at once in a big, well-bound book. Of course, it makes no difference to me, but still it's embarrassing and terribly stupid, Levine reflected, comforting himself with the thought that everyone did it, and he drove to the public meeting of the committee, where he was to find his sister-in-law and take her home with him. There were many people, including almost the whole of society, at the public meeting of the committee. Levine managed to catch the summary, which, as everyone said, was very interesting. When the reading of the summary was over, society got together, and Levine met Sviazhsky, who insisted on inviting him that evening to the Agricultural Society, where a celebrated lecture would be read, and Stepan Arkadyevich, who was just back from the races, and many other acquaintances, and Levine talked more and listened to various opinions about the meeting, about the new music, and about a certain trial. But probably owing to the flagging attention he was beginning to experience when he talked about the trial, he made a blunder, and later he recalled that blunder several times with vexation. Speaking of the impending sentencing of a foreigner who was on trial in Russia, and about how wrong it would be to sentence him to exile abroad, Levine repeated what he had heard the day before from an acquaintance. "I think that exiling him abroad is the same as punishing a pike by throwing it into the water," Levine said. Only later did he remember that this thought, which he seemed to pass off as his own, and had really heard from an acquaintance, came from one of Krylov's fables, and his acquaintance had repeated it from a newspaper of feuilleton. After taking his sister-in-law with him and finding Kitty happy and well, Levine went to the club. If you enjoy this format, please leave a like and subscribe and return tomorrow for the next chapter.